Hello, I'm Frank Luna, and welcome to Making Space. Here we celebrate the inspiring stories of the Valley's LGBTQ+ community and their allies. You're tuned into Arizona Barrio Stories, proudly part of the Latino USA and Media Network family. Today, we're launching the first in a three-part series entitled The Power Within: Self-Love, Connection, and Community. The focus of our story centers on a special guest who's led an inspiring life, and he's going to help us unpack a topic that many gay people can relate to, particularly gay men, growing up in traditional Latino and Chicano families, breaking the chains of familial trauma, rejection, and pain. According to research, as many as 42% of LGBTQ+ Latino teens and young people consider suicide, and 15% attempt it. Bullying, substance abuse, and a higher risk for mental health disorders are also shown to be more prevalent among Latino LGBTQ individuals, especially in teens and young adults. I'd like to welcome to the show Mr. David Soto Griego, the owner of Connection, a holistic fitness center. David, I should tell our audience that some parts of your story are not for the faint of heart.
No.
It may be difficult for some to hear. But for many Latino and Chicano families, it's a reality that is often unaddressed. And in your case, though, the road has led to a happy ending, fortunately. Now, to give our conversation some structure, I'd like to start with you giving us some background of your childhood and early years, and then we'll move into the heart of your story, followed by how you and your husband Manny met. And then I'd like to wrap up by talking about the role Manny and the theatrical chorus, Voices of the Desert, played in helping you evolve into becoming the accomplished person that you are today. Does that sound all right?
Sounds perfect.
Okay, Manny, I will turn things over to you. And why don't we start off by you telling us a little bit about your childhood and where you grew up?
Well, I grew up in Superior, Arizona. So it's 60 miles east of here, in the middle of nowhere. Copper mining town.
Right, yeah, familiar with
And it was nothing but Hispanic families.
Sure.
I am second generation American. So I wasn't expected to learn Spanish because my mother had to learn English to go to school. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't impressed upon us. So I had a little bit of shame about that, not knowing Spanish, although I'm learning now. So, but growing up in Superior, it was such a small town. There was not really much to do. So we got into trouble a lot. We smoked a lot of pot. We drank, whatever we could. And that was just part of the growing up. It was normal to go to school stoned or high or anything.
Yeah.
But that's also where I started really kind of thinking about who I was and understanding that I did not fit into that mold, especially with what I call more of the sort of Latino machismo. Mm-hmm. I didn't fit that mold. I would much rather be vacuuming or instead of mowing the lawn. I didn't want to do that. Mm-hmm. Not that I wanted to wear dresses or anything. Mm-hmm. I just didn't fit into that mold that the typical or stereotypical Latino man fit in. So going to school was challenging as well. Every single grade, I always attempted to date girls, but was always looking at the boys. Mm-hmm. So even all through high school, I actually flunked PE because I was so embarrassed to dress out. Mm-hmm. I was embarrassed to show myself to anything would happen. And if I would have done anything, I most likely would have ended up being beat up. I think the only reason that I was not is that I had two older brothers that were very machismo, into sports and everything else, and they kind of thought that I would just follow suit. Mm-hmm. So I really wasn't messed with a lot, but my internal struggle was tremendous because I was a deeply feeling person. Mm-hmm. and of course did not fit in wherever I was at.
Yeah. David, I believe many of us men who grew up gay in Latino and Chicano families have some kind of story to tell. Some of us may have struggled more than others. When I first heard your story, I felt an avalanche of emotions. I felt a sense of pride, inspiration, and awe over your deep strength and resilience to overcome all the adversity and how you turned your life around for yourself. You're no stranger to publicly sharing your story, which is not only brave, but it's selfless, especially for others that are experiencing similar situations. And that's key to helping others, as you know, especially young people today. So I think the best thing I can do at this point is let you share a little bit more, and whatever you're comfortable sharing at whatever level, David, of what you went through with your family when you decided to come out. And you've kind of started all that, a little bit of that already.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I told people before, buckle up, because this is a story, like you said, that it may not be faint of heart, or for the faint of heart.
Right.
Growing up in the Hispanic community, at a very, very young age, I had been sexually molested. Throughout my entire childhood, I was physically abused, and obviously, well, not obviously, but verbally abused as well. I didn't have a very supportive mother. My father worked 16, 18 hours, 7 days a week. So I was the youngest of 6, and I can only imagine what my mother had to go through to deal with all 6 of us, and me, the youngest one, that was completely different. Now, my mother was very, very old school, so she was very, you're a man, you're supposed to get married, you're supposed to have kids, and of course, as I said before, I did not fit that mold. Gets a little deep here, because I found out later that my mother actually knew that I was being sexually molested and did nothing about it. But I got to the point where I don't blame her for a lot of the stuff, because she was only doing what she was taught.
Right.
So having all of this stuff happen to me when I was a lot younger, also battling the fact that I was gay, that I was attracted to men, it just created such a hard shell around me, so I was not open to anything, anywhere. But once I got to a certain age, I could not hold it back anymore. My father became very, very sick, so my mother and I would take care of him until he finally passed away. So I never had the opportunity to tell my father. I do believe my father would have supported me. However, when I told my mother, she basically told me that I was going to hell. She told me I would have to answer to it in the end. And I was born and raised very, very Catholic. And I understand the religion, I get it. Again, this is after the processes I've gone through with accepting all of this stuff. At the time, I was angry, I was furious. I renounced God, I renounced religion, everything, because everything was hurting me.
Sure.
Everything was against me. As I got older, even when I came out to my family, my sister came and told me one day, she said that she had talked to my dad, and my dad told her that he hoped he never lived to see the day that I admitted I was gay. Later on, I did find out that my sister, she was lying about that. She was terrified for me, because at that time that I came out, AIDS was an epidemic and it was a death sentence. She was terrified that I was going to be gay, get AIDS, and die. So she was trying to basically scare me back into the closet.
Sure.
And again, processes, I got to the point, I accept, I love, but at the time I was so incredibly hurt, because I thought that my father would not accept me. And after him be gone, there's no way that I can reconcile this. So even after I came out, I still had so many reservations about myself. I still did not accept myself. I still did not understand where I fit. And part of it was being Latino, because it was so ingrained in me. You're supposed to be macho. You're supposed to. You're supposed to marry. You're supposed to. And it was so ingrained in me that I just, it was one of those things that just gnawed away at my soul, because I was always told, it was pounded into me that you're supposed to, you're supposed to, you're supposed to. So my story ends up, even at a later age. I came out when I was 21 years old. By the time I was 33, I was still dealing with a lot of the processes. And I ended up, well, first of all, I ended up in a recovery program, and went through 12 steps for alcoholism because I thought I had a problem. Even after that, I had moved to San Diego, still wasn't reconciling stuff with myself, and ended up doing crystal meth for 3 years. I lived on the streets, and during that time there, and you talked about statistics, I was almost one of them. I attempted to commit suicide 3 times. And the last time that I attempted suicide was the day that I had to move back here to Phoenix. Wow. Or not the day, but I had to move back in with my mother because I had nowhere else to go. I had nothing else to do. During the time that I was in San Diego doing all the drugs, I was weaning myself off of them because I already had experience with 12-step recovery and everything else. I knew what to do, and I don't know where the strength, I know now where the strength came from, but at the time I didn't know where it came from. I just knew I needed to do something different. I began taking care of a friend of mine. This was back in San Diego. And at the time I started taking care of him, he was diagnosed HIV, agoraphobia, high blood pressure, and several other problems, and he was supposed to die. So I brought him back to Phoenix with me. When we moved in with my mother, she had me sleep in the shed while he slept in the bedroom.
Wow.
And then I eventually got thrown out because my niece got pregnant, and she says, you can't stay here anymore. And that was the last time that I attempted suicide.
Now, at what point did things turn? Because you met somebody very special.
Yes.
And you found a community.
Yes, absolutely. And it was all of that whole process that really, I mean, it seems very dark, but it really shed the light on me because I had nowhere else to go, nowhere else but up. So I started looking into my soul, looking into who I am and what I can do for myself. Again, because 12-step recovery program, I studied with a Native American shaman. I did a lot of internal work. But then I met my now husband, David Soto Griego, and it was at a party that we both didn't want to be at. So it was just one of those things, and it was that quintessential, when we met, the entire room went away, and there was nobody left but us two. And I knew then that that was it. And I'm like, damn. I wanted to go play around and have fun, and it was over because I called him on the way home, asked him out, and I took him to his favorite, unknowingly took him to his favorite restaurant. Yeah. We met over our favorite wines, and everything just worked out, and we just celebrated 10 years of marriage recently.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we have been together for 14 years.
That's amazing, Danny. That thrills me. It really hearing what you went through and knowing what you went through, and with that, things got better from there. You found Voices of the Desert.
Yes, Voices of the, and I have been with Voices of the Desert for almost 15 years now.
Wow.
So even before I met Manny, it was part of what
Okay, so
became,
things kind of coincided.
Yes, absolutely.
So it's a matter of finding your soulmate and finding your community.
Right. So ironically, the conductor, the director of Voices of the Desert at the time, he's the one who created it. He's the one who took me to that party that I met Manny at.
Oh, was it Mr. Casola?
Yeah, Ron Casola.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So that's really on all counts. Things just evolved tremendously.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, we're going to be sharing photos throughout the interview, and also the audience will get to see Manny. What's been the most rewarding part of your involvement with Voices of the Desert that you could?
It's Well, it's family. I mean, I didn't have a blood family any longer, and I do not have a blood family any longer. But I have a strong family, and I call it our normal dysfunctional family, because all families have issues, and we still love each other, and we still are support each other, and we're still with each other, and we help to lift each other up.
Yeah.
And for me, singing is a passion. So I absolutely love to sing, and being a part of this little motley crew is just this beautiful, amazing experience.
And your husband Manny is also involved with the crew.
Yes, he's actually the president of the board of Voices of the Desert. Yeah.
Wonderful. So it's a family affair.
Yes, very much so.
Now, I want to ask you, I'm curious, introspectively, this is more of a, that type of a question. With everything you've been throughout your life, and before the show, we were kind of talking about futures and retirement and that kind of stuff, looking ahead. If you were to look back as the adult that you are today, what words of wisdom would you give yourself as a child?
Trust yourself. It has been very interesting to even ask myself that question, and the answers are always there. We just don't always believe it or trust ourselves. So for me, if I trusted myself, a lot of this may have been avoided, but
And in getting to know you for a while now, I see such a confident person, just somebody resilient and strength. And as I said earlier, getting to know your story, it's a sense of pride, because I see what you have been through, and to come out at the other end the way that you have, so strong, which begs the question now, where do you draw your strength today, David?
Goodness. I have a broader understanding of what life is about. For me, it is, I truly do want to inspire people. I've always wanted to help people. I even thought about being a nurse when I was younger, but I've always wanted to inspire people. I've always wanted to help people, and I understand now that all of my experiences can help other people, but the only way that I can help people is if they understand my experiences. So thank you for letting me do this, because this allows me a platform to share who I am, and if I can make it, I know what anybody else can.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, as I said, you are an inspiration to many, and you're doing great work. And sharing your story publicly is a tremendous, just tremendous work for everybody, for generations that are following us. And I feel that myself. So I share your mission. It's time to wrap up. David, you have survived a harrowing and traumatic experience in your transition and becoming your authentic self, which many of us can relate to. I can relate to it, unfortunately. But I think the important thing for our audience to remember is how you have survived and risen above everything to become the positive role model and inspiration that you are today. So I thank you and honor you for being here and sharing your time and your story. And to our audience, if you have a close family member or friend whom you care about and suspect they may be in crisis over something personal or exhibiting unusual behavior outside of their ordinary demeanor, don't be afraid to reach out to them or offer to listen. There are resources available to help, often free of charge, and you may be saving a life. So thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you next time.